The price of commercial feed is designed to keep your homestead's ROI at zero. But what if a plastic tub of water, a patch of weeds you can't kill, and a few sunflowers were actually a hidden protein factory? Today, we're planting 3 specific crops that can meaningfully cut your feed bill, and one of them doubles its own weight in about 2 days. If you want real feed independence, you need to start growing these 3 right now. When you walk into the supply store and notice that a 50-pound bag of layer crumbles has crept up another $2, you're looking at the fatal flaw of modern backyard poultry keeping. Most people calculate the cost of their eggs based on the price of that bag divided by the number of clutches their birds produce during peak spring production. That math is a trap because it completely ignores the dark months of winter, the annual feather mold, and the steady compounding of feed prices over a multi-year horizon. If your entire flock management strategy relies on driving to a retail store to buy a pelletized, highly processed ration shipped from a mill hundreds of miles away, you do not own a sustainable food production system. You own a high-risk liability disguised as a backyard hobby. Let me be clear about a critical boundary condition before we go any further. I'm absolutely not suggesting that you completely eliminate commercial feed tomorrow morning, because doing so without a highly calibrated alternative will instantly trigger a catastrophic drop in your egg production, cause severe feather picking, and destroy the long-term bone density of your hens. The goal here is not to create a radical, unmeasured zero feed system from scratch, but rather to engineer a robust, nutrient-dense plant buffer that safely substitutes 20 to 30% of your flock's total dry matter intake. Have you ever looked at the bottom of an empty feed sack and realized you're essentially trading paper dollars for breakfast eggs at an algorithmic loss? I did the math last autumn during a particularly brutal feed price spike, and the results were a stark wake-up call that forced me to look at my property through a strictly systemic lens. This new strategy does not replace the foundational principles we covered in the previous guide on exploiting free homestead inputs, where we analyzed how to maximize kitchen scraps, harness localized insect cycles, and deploy targeted cover crops across your existing paths. Instead, these 3 heavy-hitting crops are designed to act as a dedicated, high-yield plant module that plugs directly into that existing infrastructure, filling specific nutritional gaps that random scraps and loose bugs simply cannot cover consistently. The absolute best part about building this specific plant-based buffer is that our very first crop does not even require a single square inch of your valuable garden soil. Our first asset is a microscopic aquatic plant that most pond owners spend thousands of dollars trying to chemically eradicate every single summer. Duckweed is a floating green powerhouse that functions as a highly efficient protein synthesizing engine, turning basic water and dissolved nutrients into an elite avian supplement at a speed that defies normal agricultural timelines. When you analyze duckweed on a strictly dry matter basis, it yields a crude protein content ranging anywhere from 25 to 45%, which comfortably matches or exceeds the protein density of commercial soybean meal without requiring any of the intensive tilling, weeding, or heavy machinery. However, you must understand a massive physical constraint before you start shoveling this stuff into your coop. Fresh duckweed is roughly 92 to 95% water by weight, meaning that if you feed it completely wet, your birds will fill their crops with moisture long before they ever hit their daily macronutrient targets. Through trial and error, I discovered that treating it as an unrestricted green forage can backfire. 3 years ago, I overfed my small flock with heavy buckets of dripping wet duckweed fresh out of an unmanaged local farm pond, and the sudden intense moisture spike gave them severe loose droppings that fouled the coop bedding within 48 hours. The engineering solution to this problem is twofold. You must respect the 25% threshold for dry matter substitution, and you should ideally sun-dry or press the harvested biomass to remove the excess water before mixing it into your feeding troughs. The growth velocity of this plant is where the real magic happens, as a healthy colony can easily double its total mass in 48 hours when the water temperature stays consistently above 70 degrees Fahrenheit. You do not need an expensive farm pond or an elaborate aquaponics rig to harvest this asset. An ordinary 15-gallon plastic storage tub or a split blue utility barrel set up in partial sunlight is more than enough to establish a highly productive backyard system. Have you ever thrown away an old leaky stock tank or a plastic storage bin because it was no longer fit for the garage? I used to do that all the time, but now those exact discarded containers form the backbone of my automated protein production line. Your concrete assignment for this week is to track down a single clean plastic container, fill it with dechlorinated water, drop in a handful of aged chicken manure tied up in an old sock to serve as a starter nutrient base, and seed it with a starter culture of local duckweed sourced from a clean neighborhood pond. While the Aquatic module handles your immediate high-velocity protein needs during the peak of summer, you simultaneously need a deep-rooted terrestrial asset that can withstand severe weather anomalies and provide an unkillable backbone of structural minerals. Russian comfrey, specifically the sterile Bocking 14 cultivar, is a perennial livestock forage crop that functions exactly like a deep well pump for your homestead soil profile. Once this plant establishes its massive root system, which can easily drill down 10 feet into the subterranean earth, it acts as a dynamic accumulator that mines deep-seated reserves of potassium, calcium, and trace elements that shallow-rooted pasture grasses can never hope to reach. On a dry matter basis, comfrey leaves offer an impressive 20 to 30% crude protein content, combined with an exceptional mineral profile that directly supports the structural integrity of your hen's eggshells and enhances the deep golden color of their yolks. The sheer physical resilience of this plant is almost unbelievable, as it is completely immune to casual foot traffic, tolerates intense summer droughts without dropping its leaves, and can be aggressively cut back to the ground 4 to 5 times per season without sustaining any long-term damage to the crown. There is a distinct practical limitation to how you introduce this plant to your poultry, which revolves around its specific physical texture. If you run your fingers along a mature, freshly cut comfrey leaf, you will instantly notice a coarse, sandpapery, bristly texture caused by tiny, stiff hairs covering the entire surface of the foliage. Chickens generally dislike this abrasive texture when the leaf is completely fresh and rigid, and they will often ignore a freshly thrown bundle until it sits in the sun for several hours. The operational secret is to harvest the large leaves using a sharp knife and let them wilt in a shaded area for roughly 6 to 12 hours before introducing them to the flock. As the leaves wilt, they lose their rigid turgor pressure. The sharp hairs soften completely, and the birds will greedily shred the softened green ribbons down to the central midrib. Do not make the classic mistake of planting comfrey in the middle of your primary annual garden beds, because every single tiny root fragment you accidentally break off with a spade will eventually grow into a brand new permanent comfrey plant that you will never be able to eradicate. Plant your root cuttings along the outer perimeter of your chicken run, just far enough outside the hardware cloth that the birds can graze on the emerging leaves that push through the wire mesh without ever being able to scratch up and destroy the central root crown. Leaf protein and aquatic biomass provide an exceptional maintenance foundation during the long, easy days of spring and summer. But when the autumn equinox approaches, your flock's biological priorities undergo a drastic, energy-intensive shift. The annual feather molt requires a massive expenditure of metabolic resources because a bird's feathers are composed of roughly 85% structural protein, which must be fully regenerated right as the ambient air temperatures begin to plummet. During this precise window, a high-protein diet is no longer enough on its own. Your birds require a dense, high-lipid calorie reserve to fuel their inner furnace, maintain core body heat, and synthesize new feather follicles simultaneously. Black oil sunflowers are the ultimate seasonal engineering answer to this metabolic deficit because their seeds contain an exceptional 40% oil content packed with essential fatty acids, lipids, and high-quality proteins that measure between 15 and 20% by weight. Growing these plants is a straightforward exercise in utilizing vertical space along your existing fence lines or garden edges where they can harvest maximum sunlight without shading out your low-growing vegetable crops. The real beauty of using black oil sunflowers as a winter calorie reserve lies in their incredible simplicity of storage and processing, as you completely avoid the need for any specialized threshing, shelling, or mechanical preservation equipment. You simply let the massive yellow flower heads mature fully on the stalk until the backs of the seed discs turn a deep golden brown, and the primary stalks begin to dry out naturally in the late summer sun. The first year I grew these, I left the mature, heavy heads completely unprotected on the stalks because I assumed they could just hang there until I was ready to harvest them at my own leisure. That was an incredibly naive mistake, as a single flock of migratory wild goldfinches discovered the patch and completely stripped every single valuable seed in less than 48 hours, leaving me with nothing but empty, fibrous husks. Now I securely tie a simple breathable mesh bag or a piece of lightweight row cover over the developing seed heads as soon as the petals begin to drop, which completely seals out the wild birds while allowing the seeds to cure perfectly on the plant. Once the heads are fully dried, you simply snip them off with pruners. Stack them upside down in a well-ventilated rodent-proof crate and store them directly in your tool shed for up to 6 months. When winter arrives and the ground is frozen solid, you do not need to shell them. You just toss a single whole dried sunflower head directly into the coop run and let the birds exercise their natural foraging instincts by picking the oil-rich seeds straight out of the durable hull matrix. Bringing these 3 distinct components together into a functional, daily operational routine requires a structured approach that avoids shocking the complex digestive architecture of your laying hens. Chickens are creatures of intense habit. Their gizzards and intestinal microflora require a steady, predictable transition window of roughly 2 to 3 weeks to adapt to any new dietary inputs without dropping their egg production or experiencing systemic stress. A standard backyard laying hen consumes approximately 4 ounces of total dry feed per day, which means that your target goal is to substitute roughly 1 ounce of that commercial ration with a balanced combination of your homegrown aquatic protein, wilted perennial greens, and seasonal winter lipids. You must carefully balance the wet-to-dry ratios inside the feeding trough, ensuring that your high-moisture duckweed harvests are offset by the dense, dry calories of the sunflower seeds or balanced alongside the fibrous bulk of the wilted comfrey leaves. Watch the physical manure consistency on your coop's dropping boards every morning as you begin this integration process. If you notice the droppings losing their firm, dark structure with a distinct white uric acid cap and turning into a loose, watery mess, it is an immediate signal that you have introduced the fresh green matter far too quickly. Scale back the supplementation by 50% for 3 days, allow their digestive tracts to stabilize completely, and then resume the upward trajectory at a much slower, more incremental pace. By creating a daily routine where fresh duckweed is skimmed from your water tubs during the morning chores, comfrey leaves are cut and left to wilt on the coop roof during the workday, and dried sunflower heads are cracked open during the evening lockdown, you build a resilient circular feeding loop that operates independently of retail supply chains. When you walk out to your chicken run later today, I want you to step away from the feed bin for a moment and take a very close, analytical look at the unmanaged fence lines, the damp ditches, and the forgotten corners of your property. Which of these 3 specific survival assets is already growing right under your feet, masquerading as an annoying yardweed or an unmanaged patch of pond scum because you haven't yet integrated it into your homestead's microeconomy? Drop your current observations in the comments below. Let me know which asset you're going to source first this week, and let's start systematically building your flock's feed independence from the ground up.